I've worked the night shift in hospitals for almost a decade. You get used to strange noises, machines beeping, patients talking in their sleep, even the occasional ghost story passed around in the break room. But nothing ever truly scared me until that night. It was around 2:30 a.m., the deadest part of the night. I was doing rounds on the third floor, which was already half empty since renovations had begun. The old East Wing was completely shut down. Lights off, power disconnected, doors locked. At least it was supposed to be. I was passing by the entrance to that wing when I heard it, screaming. Not just someone yelling, I mean screaming. Raw, painful, high-pitched cries echoing down the corridor. It sent a chill straight through me. I stopped, tried to listen again, thinking maybe it was a patient in distress. But it was coming from behind the locked double doors of the East Wing. I radioed security to see if anyone was down there. Maybe a maintenance worker or, I don't know, a stray patient? They said no one had been scheduled to enter the East Wing in weeks. The area had no active power and was marked off limits. But the screaming continued. Against my better judgment, I decided to check it out myself, partly because if someone was in there, they might need help. Security said they'd send someone, but it would take a few minutes, so I used my badge to override the lock. The doors opened with a creak that sounded like it came out of a horror movie. Beyond them? Complete darkness. I pulled out my flashlight and stepped in. The second I crossed the threshold, the screaming stopped. Just dead silence. The air felt thick, stale, like no one had breathed it in years. My footsteps echoed unnaturally loud against the tile as I moved deeper inside, sweeping the flashlight around. That's when I saw her. At the end of the hallway, just past the nurse's station, there was a woman standing there. Barefoot in a faded hospital gown, her hair matted and tangled. Her head was bowed like she was crying. I froze. "Ma'am?" I called out. She looked up. Her eyes were dark. Not like bruises or bloodshot, empty, hollow. No reflection, no recognition, just void. And then she ran. Not away from me, at me. I screamed and stumbled backward. My flashlight hit the floor and rolled. When I picked it up, she was gone, just vanished. I turned and bolted out of that wing, heart slamming in my chest. Security met me outside the doors. They searched the entire East Wing. Every room, every closet, every hallway. No one was there. No sign anyone had been there. No footprints, no power. The wing was still dark and dead, but that wasn't the end. 2. I've worked as a 911 dispatcher for over 6 years. It's a job that teaches you how to stay calm, to keep your voice steady no matter what. Suicides, car crashes, domestic violence. You hear it all and you learn to keep a piece of yourself locked away. You have to. But one night broke that wall for me. It was a Wednesday, quiet shift, around 2 a.m. The phones had been dead for about 20 minutes. I was sipping cold coffee and half watching the monitor when the line lit up. No caller ID, just unknown. I answered with the standard greeting. No response at first, just static. Then I heard it, a faint whisper, a woman's voice. "Hello, please, help?" She sounded terrified, out of breath like she was hiding. I asked for her name, what was happening, if she was safe. He's in the house," she whispered. "I don't know how he got in." I felt the hairs on my arms stand up. I switched into full protocol, tried to get her to tell me where she was, what address. She hesitated, then whispered an address that made my stomach drop. It was a house on the outskirts of town. Old place. I'd driven past it dozens of times on my way to work. But I also remembered something else. That place had been boarded up for years, abandoned after a fire. No one had lived there since. At least, no one legally. "You're sure that's where you are?" I asked. "That house?" "Yes, please, he's close." Then I heard something in the background. Heavy footsteps, a door creaking open. Her voice got more frantic. "He's here, he found me, please, don't let me die." Then the line went dead. I sat there frozen for a second, then immediately dispatched officers to the address. It took them 10 minutes to arrive. They called me back. "Are you sure this is the right place?" the officer asked. "This house has been abandoned a long time. It's completely empty. No signs of entry, no footprints in the dust. Nothing." I told them about the call, the voice, the fear. They checked again. Still nothing. Later, I pulled the call logs to clip the audio and file a report. But it wasn't there. Not just the audio, the entire call. Gone. It had never registered in our system. I asked our tech guys. They said maybe it was a glitch, a phantom call. That happens sometimes, they said. Lines cross, old recordings loop, some weird static trick. But I heard
her? I know I did. A week later, I drove past that house again. The boards on the windows had been torn down, the front door was open. Spray painted across the rotting wood in red paint, maybe blood, I couldn't tell, was a single word. Listen. I haven't worked a night shift since. 3. I worked the night shift at a mid-tier hotel just off the interstate, one of those places with a fancy lobby and corporate art on the walls, but you can still hear trucks rumble past at 3 a.m., the kind of job where nothing happens until something does. It was a Thursday night, dead quiet, maybe 5 rooms occupied out of 50. Around 1:15 a.m., the phone at the front desk rang. "Front desk, how can I help you?" There was a pause, then a man's voice, irritated, whispering like he didn't want to be overheard. "Yeah, can you tell the people in 209 to keep their kid quiet? She's been crying for like an hour. It's keeping me up." I pulled up the room list. Room 209 was unoccupied. "Sir, are you sure it's coming from 209? "Yeah," he said, sounding annoyed. "I'm in 211. It's coming through the wall." I apologized and promised to check it out. Hung up, grabbed the master key, and took the elevator to the second floor. When I got there, everything was still. Dim yellow lights humming overhead, thin hallway carpet under my shoes. That eerie, middle-of-the-night silence hotels always seem to have. I stopped in front of room 209. It had the sticker seal over the doorframe. We used them to mark rooms undergoing renovations. Nobody was supposed to be in there. I knocked anyway. No answer. But then I heard it. Soft crying, a little girl's sobs, muffled, like they were coming from somewhere deep inside the room or behind the walls. I felt my skin go cold. I used the master key and slowly opened the door. The room was dark. The curtains were pulled tight. Everything inside was covered in a thin layer of dust. The furniture was still wrapped in plastic. It smelled stale, like no one had been in there for months. I turned on the light. The crying stopped. I checked the bathroom. Empty. Closets, empty. Under the bed. Nothing, not even a speaker or TV left on. I backed out of the room, more confused than scared at that point. I went back down to the front desk and filed a note for maintenance to check for any leaky pipes or weird vent sounds in 209, just in case. Then about 20 minutes later, I glanced up at the monitor. We had a camera feed for each hallway, and one of them caught my eye, the one for the second floor. There was someone standing in front of the window in room 209. I leaned closer. The feed was grainy, black and white. But I could see her, a little girl, maybe 6 or 7, with long hair, standing perfectly still, staring out of the window. The same room I had just been in, the room that was locked, the room I knew was empty. As I stared, the screen glitched, just for a second, and she was gone. I ran back upstairs, heart pounding, keycard in hand. The seal on the door was still intact. I opened it. Nothing. No one. I checked every inch again. Still empty. Still quiet. That was the last night I worked there.